Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, friends. Welcome to Kardec Radio, the 6 p.m. daily prayer. My name is Teresa Castro, and I will be hosting this evening's prayer. Before we have our prayer, we will be reading a message from the book Money by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. And this message is on page 105. Welcome to everyone who has joined us. I can only see you if you sign in, so please know that you are welcome and feel our warm prayer message today. The message from the book Money by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. To retain only for oneself the goods that life spreads generates real evils that beset our pathway. However, converting the apparent evils of this earthly journey into values of understanding and learning creates good in oneself, which will do good for everyone. So that message, gives us an idea that using the goods of life for the good of everyone is a message that we can take out of that reading. So this brings us to the Gospel according to Spiritism by Allan Kardec. And he, in chapter 16, which is titled, You Cannot Serve Both God and Mammon, item 11, the use of riches. So this is a message that was received by the spirit Chevreuse in Bordeaux in 1861. So Chevreuse was John Chevreuse. He lived 1768 to 1836. He was a French Roman Catholic bishop. Later, he became an archbishop of Bordeaux, and then they made him a cardinal. He was very educated and charitable. And it was interesting at one point when I was reading his biography that, first of all, he was in France, but he had to flee for his life because during the French Revolution, they wanted him to take an oath that would allow the government to have authority over the church, and he refused. So he had to leave, he had to flee. And when he got to London, people wanted to help him, to give him, assistance. And he said, that he had, money that he came with that would suffice until he could learn the language and do manual labor if needed to support himself, which I think is interesting. The part about he distinctly said until he learned the language. So he was not someone who, just took handouts. Also, he was very charitable. They make mention of that he was noted for always passing out alms. And at one time, he was walking down the street, and he gave someone a franc, I guess, in French money. And the man that was with him said, "Oh, do you know that guy's a Jew?" I guess this was during Jews were oppressed in France at this time. And he said, "Oh, thank you." And he turned around and he gave the guy 5 more francs. So he was a very charitable man. Anyway, so he goes on to say, when we're dominated by the love of gold, he says, this is, so we can fulfill our passions. So we think we can, have enough money to eat, drink, and be merry, right? Any of those passions along those lines. And also, so we can set ourselves above others, which we can see that love for money and that kind of power triggers competitiveness and separation from others, okay, which is out of alignment, moving away from fraternity, and we not recognizing humanity as a collective. Okay, so he reminds us that because the item that he's talking about is the use of riches. I think I said that, but just to make sure. So he says that he reminds us that God will ask, "What did you do with the wealth I entrusted in you?" And so the question is, did we use it only for personal satisfaction or for good deeds? And he answers this, Chevreuse answers this in the gospel. In 1861 in Bordeaux, he sends the message. He says that the secret for good use of riches is in the maxim, love one another. He reminds us that charity is most pleasing to God when it is done with love and without humiliating others. Excuse me. So he outlines approaches for helping others. And he says, first, by providing comfort. So he's talking about physical comfort, people who are hungry or cold, or, and then he says, if people have their physical needs met, we can offer help by offering understanding, being a good listener, being a good friend. He then says to empower others to help themselves. And it's along that idea of, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for life. So, and the fourth one is he says, to share knowledge, that intelligence is also a source of rich or wealth. And so it is our duty to share. That is a form of wealth, and to share what we know with everyone. He says, so when we do this, we can be helping people both materially and spiritually, which is also known as doing good deeds, right? And so when we do assist a spiritual evolution, it's not only for our own, but it's for the collective as well. So we bring both those messages from Emmanuel, and also the messages in the gospel about, it's along those same lines as multiplying our talents, right? When we share what we have, whatever that we've been given, whether it's money, materials, or it's characteristics we have. We're a good listener. We can be kind. We're wealthy in knowledge. We have a lot of education behind us that we can share with other people. So as many of the spirits have said to us, there's not one of us that can't do some form of goodness. So we all can do some form of good. So this evening, I would like to have our prayer be the prayer of Mother Teresa. And this is Teresa of Calcutta. And so let us ground ourselves, connect with Mother Earth, inhabit our bodies, elevate our thoughts, our frequencies, prepare ourselves for being in the presence of God. We are always in the presence of God. Let us thank the mentors, our protectors, our spiritual guides, for their assistance in making and providing this space that we can come to share knowledge, and thus helping each other to progress. And the prayer of Mother Teresa: make us worthy, Lord, to serve our fellow human beings throughout the world who live and die in poverty and hunger. Give them through our hands this day their daily bread, and by our understanding love, give peace and joy. Amen. Teresa of Calcutta. So I'd like to thank everyone who joined this evening for our prayer. Let us enter our week recognizing our wealth and looking for ways of how we can be useful and share and multiply these talents. Thank you, and God willing, see you next week. Please remember there's also a 6 a.m. prayer, so we can start our day off with prayer and end our day with prayer. God willing, right? Thank you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday, same time. God bless. Have a good week.